my version of Postfix locally, so it's a little bit old what's on the website. Any requests? Can you all see it okay? No? A little fuzzy? Probably not going to help.
The preferences really just hit Control Plus and just comes about.
How's this? Okay, great. Anything you would particularly like to see?
You were going to mention things about the PPP.
Oh, sure. Dial-up machines we want.
I have the dial.
Okay. Here is the suggested code for, can you read that okay?
You might want to put up the size of the bits width stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yes. Got that.
Much better.
Great. Use user sbin send mail-q, or you can use mail Postfix flush. The old send mail commands should still work. Even if they don't work, they will not generate any untoward error messages, so that you won't have things spat back at your script that you won't understand. That your script won't understand. I'm sorry. Actually, the one big lack I have seen in Postfix compared to SendMail is that it's hard. There isn't a command, as far as I've seen, to say, okay, I'm going to send a message now. Tell me everything you would do to this message without sending it, which is something you can do with SendMail, so that you can see if you've got your rewriting. Yes, you can see if you've got your rewriting rules wrong or something like that, and why your mail isn't getting where it's supposed to be. That's one thing that I have found to be lacking in Postfix, and I considered emailing the maintainer about it at this point. I probably will.
Well, one thing I found is when I sent some email to an account on VLU.org, and I did not have the dummy inbound mail file initialized. I got bounces, but it didn't tell me what the bounce was, any reason for the bounce.
Okay. I've never seen that behavior, but then I've never not had the mail school file for the user, so
yeah.
That's, I guess it's an interesting thing to remember.
Yeah, that's why I sent a copy to Jeffers and say,
yeah.
I just never seen that before. Now I've seen it once.
So you made that change and it's working now?
What?
You just made that change and now it's working?
Yes.
So I can ignore that mail and read it.
No, your mail I intercept and. Well, it's just my inexperience of working with Postfix, and I just been working against the deadline, haven't had time to really read the facts.
Yeah. So. Anything else? Should I scroll through that section more slowly, or?
No, that was good. That was good.
Now, the other question is, just like John, is for Mailman has its own way of doing virtual posts. Is that correct? Or do you use Postfix for that?
No, it's just Postfix for that.
Okay.
All Mailman is doing is managing the list.
Because eventually in VLU.org, for the groups I have, like Mac Woburn, Pam will get around to fixing her who is list. Like that, I can do the Helvets list make that virtual. Mac Wilbur knows of the three. You've already done Abreau.net, Abreau.org.
The options of Postfix accept when you go to send mail?
That's actually a good question. I don't remember seeing such a list.
I'm pretty sure some accept some of the weirder ones, like dash DV for verifying an address. I was wondering if there
Exactly.
if you could list of which ones will handle and which ones you won't.
Is it down in the bottom here, the frequently asked questions?
Send mail compatibility? Yeah, I guess let's have a look at that. You can't read it? Let
Tell
me...
me if dash T is on the list or not.
Dash T, okay. T does not work. Duplicate mail. Let's remember. Relay. Relay mail from mobile users. Okay, I think that was the end of the post, but it doesn't say anything about dash T.
I can try out to memorize it.
Yeah. The frustrating thing is that if it doesn't, it will probably not give you an error message. It just won't say anything if it doesn't
Well,
work.
statistics have the message on standard one, so you'll know if it's working.
Oh, yes, I guess so. Okay.
You can talk about some of the spam filtering capabilities.
Okay.
I heard the one on the top, but not one.
Pizza Venom.
Sounds like he really loves answering that question.
He's got it moving. Okay. So you can specify the local delivery agent, and if you like, you can use the local delivery agent to do virus scanning. Postfix does not do the virus scanning internally itself as of the writing of this fact. The more modern versions may have better hooks for doing that. One of the things that he's been working on in progressive versions is adding hooks to do more things yourself. To have scripts that log to the logs the same way that Postfix does, that the lines are the same, you can parse them all nicely, that sort of thing. So you can specify what your local delivery agent is. You could use ProcMail if you like, and then filter from there for spam, viruses, etc.
So you would use this to send to or to call ProcMail?
To call, you'd say, Postfix, don't use your normal local delivery agent. Feed it to ProcMail, and ProcMail will do whatever it likes with it.
Gotcha.
There is limited there's limited capability within Postfix for doing UUCP. I don't remember if that was one of the things he was going to work more on or not. Postfix has manual pages for practically anything you can think of. They're pretty good ones, too. So if it's something to do with Postfix, just try manning it. You'll probably get something. If nothing else, you can go look at the website, which has copies of the man pages. If you can't find the man page relevant to what you're looking for, find the part of the HTML explanation that addresses it, and it will have a link to the man page that you want.
How widely used do you think UCP is these days?
Not very. The author mentioned that he didn't think it would be used very much, but he had, in the past, had to have a mail gateway that exchanged mail between DECnet UCP and SMTP, and so he wanted it to be possible.
There are people that are still using DECnet.
A few.
There are a few people, one is a member of this group, a couple are that still use UCP. I think the guy from Lowell, I'm trying to remember his name. I think he still uses UCP. John Chambers does occasionally. I think he's finally weaned off that. And I think Rich Braun still uses it. One of the things that UCP was able to do a little bit better than SendMail is mail queuing. I think what, and this is quite a while ago, what Rich Braun used to do at Pioneer Global is that when there were mail problems and stuff like that, and his mail queue got fairly large, he'd dump it all over to the UCP. And it would still get out via the internet. It's just that UCP managed the queues better. I think that's not an issue any longer. I really haven't seen too much of a problem with SendMail on the large queues. But again, a few years ago, that was an issue. But I think UCP is starting to die. It's been dying along.
Your comments remind me of another performance difference between Postfix and Qmail. Qmail and Postfix both having the same model of a lot of little programs each of which perform a specific task, but Qmail, each program performs the task once and then exits, which incurs some process creation overhead. And Postfix, to try and avoid that overhead, has semi-resident processes which perform a figurable number of times and then exit.
I think the other thing you mentioned earlier is memory leaks. And large program daemons, especially that stay resident for a long time, just have a tendency to gobble up memory because on most systems, when they do a malloc never returns any memory back to the operating system, even if you do it free. I only know of one malloc family that actually does try to return memory back to the operating system.
Which one?
264 malloc. You can configure, you can tell it not to, but 264 will, its malloc will do a negative S break on occasion. It has to have a uniform S break in it. It has to make sure that nobody's done an S break in between to chunk it up and stuff like that. So it's pretty secure. Excuse me? Yes. Matter of fact, I was looking at some of the variables in malloc. Saying what I was trying to do in malloc is there's a way to tell malloc not to use sbreak and to use mmap. Sometimes you can do mmaps And the kernel doesn't, and you can get mmap to set its map right above the heap, so the heap won't grow. And under normal circumstances, malloc is going to say, hey, I can't grow the heap, therefore I can't give you any memory. On True64, we have the capability of, if malloc can't, if sbreak is not able to increase the breakpoint, what malloc will do is then say, okay, well, if we won't do that, we'll just do an mmap for our chunks of memory that we'll give the user. There's no guarantee in a system, by the way, that malloc chunks are going to be contiguous. Normally, you can expect them to be on the heap, but they don't really have to be. So, what I was doing, I'm doing the port of Purify. We're pretty well finished with it, but one of the things I want to check is when malloc switches into do mmaps, how that's going to affect Purify. Since Purify has to keep track of all the memory that's allocated, whether it's whether memory's actually been initialized or not, or whether it's been freed or not, stuff like that, and how it's been used.
What's Purify? Do you know of any third-party malloc libraries that do that?
No, because I know the malloc that is used in True64 in the 5.0 stream is what's called Cartesian malloc. The old BSD malloc, which is generally in the public domain, is a power of 2 malloc. It still chunks up the memory. But Cartesian mallocs were designed for much better performance. They break malloc up into, if you're doing mallocing a small amount, it will grab a small amount from a small amount queue. If you're grabbing a big amount of memory in your program, it has a queue for large memory, and it can be highly configurable. Sun has its own version of malloc that does things. Well, I think most of your commercial mallocs will have certain configurations, but the new way that malloc is, some of the new techniques that malloc is doing is what's called arena malloc, and eventually none of them are going to do sbreaks at all. All the mallocs are going to be using mmaps to allocate memory rather than sbreaks. The difference is an sbreak has to be contiguous from the top of your data area up. It's called a heap. Whereas mmaps can be anywhere in memory. And we have tremendous virtual memories, which we do in True64. Since we have a large contiguous memory, we have to manage it a little bit differently than, let's say, a 32-bit machine. Anyway, this is really on Postfix. It started on memory leaks. But the advantage of having small processes that don't stay in for a long time is, even if there's a bug in the process, it won't gobble up your system memory.
Yeah.
And that's really the point. Even if the process is well written and designed, it's just, and it frees everything, it's just still tend to use more memory over time.
Right. It's linear this way.
Yeah.
Here's the virtual domain stuff you were asking about.
Okay.
We used it at the Postfix virtual file. Don't list the virtual domains in the My Destination parameter. That's actually handled separately. And don't list the maps for the virtual domain in the local recipient maps. And for more information, you can see the man page. There's a nice little link to the man page, which, there you go. Pops up in HTML even for you. Get all of your nice trough format and put in HTML.
Having man pages, readable man pages is useful for anything. It's just, you can't memorize all this stuff. You
Yep.
these little post-it notes all over the place. Virtual or paper.
Yeah.
Palm Pilot members are like that members.
Any other questions I can answer? Things you'd like to do with Postfix I haven't talked about? It doesn't make toast, sorry. I don't think so.
Randy, that's your machine.
That's okay.
Next to John.
Oh, okay, great, thanks.
That's not the only reason I dashed down. I meant to get here a lot earlier. Did I miss the whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We tape it.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
we'll have an encore on the what's our
Yeah, it's good. This will be useful for what I'm doing now.
Oh, you can join us in the after-meeting meeting.
Okay? That'd be a good thing to do.
You assigned 2 tasks.
Not sure I'm confident.
There was
to
no
do that.
protest.
In case you're curious, here's a diagram of the Postfix system. The arrows are a little bit confusing, but given what I've already told you, you might be able to figure out some of what's going on here. I can try and explain it to you, or you can just stare at it, whatever you prefer. Is that clear enough for most people? Not really? I'm not sure how to make that bigger. Okay.
Yeah.
So, over here, we have the send-mail binary. And your mail program communicates the send-mail binary, which takes the email message, dumps it in MailDrop, the hotly contested directory we were talking about before. From there, the pickup, cleanup, rewrite several things, format the addresses, and add domain to where it's coming from, and add information to where it's going to. At which point, it goes into the incoming queue, and it sits there until Active is ready to deal with it, which probably won't be very long because it's pretty quick. Active takes alternately from the incoming and from deferred queue, so that your mail that has not been going through gets retried, but so that new mail comes through as well. Active is intentionally very, very small. It's also the only queue in the system which has all of the information about the messages in it loaded in memory at a time. So that hopefully Postfix won't be gobbling vast amounts of your memory because it's trying to handle a lot of messages. From Active, it gets handled by the queue manager and eventually either dumped out locally to a mailbox, dumped out onto the internet, dumped out onto UCC if you're using it. Local delivery looks at your anti-aliases and any .forward files before it delivers. If it's going out to the internet, it just sort of goes. Here, queue manager is also what calls things to do DNS resolution. And there's an entire section on the Postfix anatomy that concentrates both on that sort of on this in halves, either from send mail to incoming or from Active out to local delivery of the internet. And takes each diagram in section. Takes the diagram in sections. The programs in the large box here run under the control of the master daemon. They are the ones that are semi-resident and that are started and stopped according to your master.cf.
Does the process that listens on port 25, the SMTP listener, or whatever
Yep.
it's called in Postfix, does that also exit and respawn itself?
I believe so. I believe it does. Let me see if I can remember which process that is.
I mean, just something to do.
Yeah. Well, actually, let's try. This is not really big enough. Let's try an external. No, that's not either. I'm trying to make the font bigger. How do you do that external again? Is it a control click or? No, I'm using an external. This- Oh, there we have it. Okay.
Actually, you can do that with an escape sequence.
Really?
Yeah.
Is this big enough or? Huge. Huge? Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's look at the SMTPD is what it's called. It is not rooted. It is unprivileged. Not private. I'm not sure what that means. Probably down some comments somewhere. Command filter.
Unprivileged right there.
I'm logged into ASCII.
Unprivileged right there.
This is root privilege. Yeah, but basically, the maintainer believes in the idea of least privilege. Give everybody just as little power as they need to do what they have to do. I believe that Postfix also refuses to execute external SUID programs, just in case the reason it's doing it is because it's been compromised somehow.
Now, one of the things that I found that was amusing when we switched servers, I don't know if it was Major Domo or I don't know if it was Major Domo, SendMail, or Postfix and Mailman, but on one of our mailing lists, none of the recipients at bellsouth.net could receive any email. And I'm pretty sure it was actually SendMail, but it could have been Major Domo. But none of
This is on the road server?
the old server, none of them could receive any mail from BLU. These were all from bellsouth.net. One guy got so pissed off at bellsouth.net he switched to Earthlink. But that wasn't so good. And we analyzed the messages, I looked at things that went through. I don't know what happened to it. And what I said to him is, look, we're moving over to a new system very shortly. Why don't you hold on and we'll see what happens when we move on to the new system. We moved on to the new system and I very quickly set up a test mailing list. I put the two guys that were having trouble on the mailing list and they could receive mail. It was great.
Wow.
So just by putting them on Postfix and Mailman, I solved the Bell South problem. I don't know if it was something with SendMail, the way SendMail was configuring the headers, or whether it was Major Domo, but I don't think he could receive email from me if I used my BLU.org address, but I'm not sure. But it was really strange. So Maybe Bell South has things. Looks.
Is this working now?
Yeah, it's working fine now.
Same computer, same IP and everything?
No, we moved over from that computer that's sitting over there that John just cannibalized over to our new server, which is a Compact Reliant, different version of Linux, and changed from SendMail to Postfix and from Majordomo to Mailman.
Because I was thinking that maybe they put you in the spam disk or something.
Nope.
You know, your email.
We also changed from Red Hat 4.2 to 7.2.
Right.
7.1.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's a good jump.
I think you were on 5.2.
Oh, right, with the power supply blow up.
Yes, normally we don't usually touch the BLU server. That server worked for about 2 years. The only time that server ever got shut down, it came into being because our old server,
We had to reboot every time we changed ISPs and locations.
we blew our power supply. Then a month or two later, they had a power failure in the building at the ISP's building, which is in Park Square. Then in August, they decided to throw us out because they wanted to start charging us. They were going to move all their servers down to a very expensive place in downtown Boston. Wanted to start charging an arm and a leg.
I think they wanted $1,600 a month.
Yeah. Not quite that much. It was around $400 a month. But that's still $400. That's $400 a month higher than our current budget and our income if we don't charge it. So we then made a quick phone call. I knew they were going to throw us out, so I made a phone call to U.S. Data Centers, to Rick Zack, and he says, sure, no problem. And they gave us, they said, just let us know when you're coming and you have to sign a contract and stuff like that, which we did. And then we brought it down there, and they decided to shut off the network in their old building. And so we had a choice. Either we could move it down to the new building for 2 weeks before we actually got thrown out. So in the spur of the moment, we drove down to Park Square, grabbed the old server, and just put it up to U.S. Data Centers, got it in. It was great. And then, of course, U.S. Data Centers went bankrupt. Rick had been in the process of leaving U.S. Data Centers, even though he was the founder. But he had made some arrangements with them they have a server, their own server rack with a key. And he had made some arrangements with them so that they are somewhat obligated to keep us there for quite a while. We don't have to worry about. And right now we're negotiating with the new owners of U.S. Data Centers. So that yeah. So if U.S. Data Centers, or now Northeast Data Vault, can't keep us, the president is in our court. So if they can't keep us in there, and there's really no reason why they can't, because we use very few of their resources, just bandwidth and floor space, plenty of. We already have an agreement with RCN, so this will be another move. Now, the last move, the first move that we did between data centers after we left the BCS was to move from Copley Square to Park Square. And that we just threw it on a two-wheeler and rolled it down the street in Boston. Then we took it up here, up to Marlborough. This one is going to be, we're definitely moving. If we stay with U.S. Data Centers, we're moving from Data Center 3 to Data Center 5. That's the Data Center 5 is probably one of the most modern data centers in the country. You saw that.
Yeah,
They're in Marlborough. they're on Route 20 towards Northborough, right near where the Ken Gordon show is. You're right in
Right
the
near
corner.
Royal Trade?
Excuse me?
Right near Royal Trade?
Yeah, just past Royal on the right, where the traffic light is. Wonderful data center. And if they are not going to be able to accommodate us, we go to RCN, that's going to be just going in an elevator and going upstairs. So it's not a big move. The only pain is we're going to have to change IP addresses if we go to RCN. That's all. So going over to data center 5 will be probably very painless. The other thing I have to do to shut it down is that a certain person misplaced the rails. So I've got the system in the rack on a kind of a shelf. And now I have the rack, the rails in my car. Now I have to get some manpower to go in there. I need 2 guys, or 1 extra guy to go in there to do it because I can't do it myself.
Let me know. There's a friend.
Yeah. I've read somebody from work. I worked 5 minutes away. So it's not a big deal. Or I grab rigs out. No big deal. Anyway, Courtney, it's still your meeting?
I'm curious, I found that a sweep sequence for boxes.
Oh, yeah.
It's a sweep right bracket, 50, semicolon, pound sign. The phone number, the bell, and the carriage turn.
Wait, why did you tell me you got it?
I have
It's an e-term page.
I have a book. They're all VT100 escape or VT200 escape sequences. I have a VT200 manual.
There's actually a lot of e-term specific sequences like this that are not part of the VT200.
This is a term descended from RSVP, actually, not e-term.
Oh,
But
never mind.
it could be similar. I
They're
shall
very
see
similar.
if there's something appropriate.
They'll steal from each other's.
There's better escape sequences I use for the background. So basically before it prints the prompt, it always sets the background to the postname.jpg. So that the directory messes up after it is all machines.
I see.
I always know what machine it was.
Yes, indeed. It saves you typing reboot on the wrong machine, I bet. That's my first day on the job once.
How long will it take you to set up
It was
virtual?
on one of the supported machines. I thought it was on the gateway. Yes, of course.
Actually, I had one line, well, I have one actually.
I noticed I saw yours. You have the plus signs. You have those plus signs.
Oh, that's fantastic. If the address doesn't exist, it looks for plus sign. This is what goes to the name or the that way you can use something like proxy on the
So if I send somebody to schmuck@abreau.net, it's going to go to John at Abreau.
Oh, that's bound. That doesn't exist. Send it to Java plus one. Just go to Java. And I can set up your property. I'm looking for the address boxes and you can drop it into the no.
Anyway, that's what I want to set up. So I see what I've got plugged in now. You can go to master. If not, I can do it myself. I just was confused as to how you set that up.
The one thing I started with Interpreter is I created custom make files for over here.
Yeah.
Come back. He wants to know.
Just make it up for anything that involves one and two seconds.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then I'll just see. We're doing the virtual thing on this.
Yeah.
Was it Bugsy.org?
Well, I'm on Bugsy.org, so I'll bet that,
Yeah, under my destination, we have that as a script.
yeah, okay.
Oh, you want Bugsy?
No, just Bugsy.org. Well, I mean, I'll add elements.net, and I want to do some of the stuff myself, so I learn it.
Are there any good books on Postfix?
Yeah, that's one.
You want to write this out?
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
But it's good for introduction,
Yeah, I'll
but
look
you
to
really
see
want to
later
get
on.
into it.
I think this is the only.
It's called Postfix, and it's Q, I think.
It's okay. It's good that you answered the question, because I have not seen any books on Postfix, so.
Isn't there an O'Reilly book on Postfix?
I thought there was. Either that or there's something on
Yeah,
Amazon.
right, it's Q. It's Q.
I thought I saw a book on,
They're separating white ones. Very deep on new ones.
Oh, that's right, you said it was Arnold Belansky?
what?
Arnold Belansky?
No, that's, what do you,
Whose domain is that? Bugsy.org?
that's not sure. Yeah, that's our calendar. Okay. Just looking. Because I thought I did see one. Okay, page 32 is the mail. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I bought the send mail thing a while back. Yeah. But that book actually covers a few other things too, like MH and
Yeah.
things.
I got mine working with my SQL.
Oh, what name did you want for that? Oh, mail didn't spell for mailbox.
What?
Did you want something like webmaster?
I come from
Bugsy.org.
Right, yeah.
I like mailbox. Mail didn't for me.
Right.
Everything
yeah.
goes to proceed.
Pretty interesting.
We have an account, Bugsy. Okay, all mail from Bugsy.org or at Bugsy.
Ah,
Yeah.
I highly recommend it over the online documentation. Never have seen it.
Where was the ground?
Right now, I'm saying Bugsy at Bugsy.org.
I think the last meeting
And
was
probably
6
mail
weeks,
us.
and that was our record.
Those names are on the website.
Those are accounts that we already have on BLU.
Is there anything else I can answer for anyone, or?
Those names aren't on the board.
No.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Oh, I had so much fun.
Really?
When did they come over there when we went meeting with Raul? I remember one day he was with another.
Was that Ben Lyman's cave in the background?
It was like a campus.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's right.
It's supposed to be a little exit.
Yeah, it's already doing it.
It's supposed to be a Japanese cherry garden.
And I was with the campus meeting. And somebody, I don't know.
Jerry was just asking me, taking like every possible name you could use, add a particular domain, and stuff about all the way over.
I think there is a provision for any name I don't recognize send it to Postmaster or something. I don't remember on
I want to do that.
No? I'm sorry, then I didn't understand.
We have a bunch of different virtual domains.
Yeah.
And Jerry wants anything, any name at all that has @bugsy.org for all things. He wants to have all the channels in one mailbox.
Oh, okay.
And that's the part I don't have an answer for.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess the only thing I can tell you is I think it's virtual.
Yeah. We'll play with things, but I mean, it's, one thing was asking me, Randy, I think that we brought this up and Jabber cannibalized it.
I'm just sitting there actually.
The cover for it's in my car.
Yeah, I do.
Doesn't matter.
I mean, my whole chunk is doing that.
Where are you parked?
I'm parked at my
Yeah.
How far down
I
Memorial?
think there's a way to do it.
It should be, yeah.
Not very far. It's out the building, about the middle between,
Sorry.
one that's Math Avenue, and then up to the turnaround. About halfway.
Yeah, I think so.
Because, are you going to go the afternoon?
If I can find it, you know, I have, so I'm.
So next month we'll have
never
a
have
PGP
figured
signing
out
party.
very well, but I was going to go.
Oh, I just have a mailing list for that. The way this works is if you're using PGP already, you want to make sure it's on the key server we're using, dtype.org, and then email.
It doesn't like my frame box.
Well, just email to list your PGP fingerprint and key ID.
If you want to come to the after meeting with me,
I'll compile a list of that.
bring this downstairs,
Or actually, no, we
throw it back in my car, and then come around, load it in your car, and then go to the after meeting.
And that is,